Ooh, that's strong coffee. Well, hello, how are ya? It's Joseph, owner and operator of the Mosquito Creek 0-30 Swamp Logging Railroad. Just got wrapped up with celebrating some Mardi Gras, Midwest style. A lot of people say, boy, it looks awful snowy for you living in Louisiana. And I tell you, I'm not living in Louisiana. We're up here in the Midwest, and we're still in the midst of some cold weather, although a lot of the snow is starting to melt away. But in the meantime, it's still good to stay in the indoors of the house and start working, or continue working, I should say, on the rebuild of the railroad after moving out several months ago now. Time to give you a little update on it. We've been doing a lot of other things. I've been trying to finish up on projects that needed to be done after the move here at the house, and we're trying to fix up our cabin to get that on the market here in a little bit, selling that. So, you know, those things, like most stuff in life, takes priority over hobbies. And we've started another YouTube channel and a blog for our RV travel, and that's been fun. It's starting that out, and if you want to check that out, I'll try to put a link in the bottom of this description thing, and you can check that out and follow and subscribe as well. See what we do when we're not in the train room. So here's what's been going on since we last left. We've got all of the connecting 1x3 sections mounted. Now, when I point up here, a lot of guys have been asking, oh, well, you're connecting up, you're going to have 2 layers of your 0-30 layout, and the answer is no. This is the rebirth of the Big Island Rail HO scale modern short line railroad based on the western coast of the island of Hawaii over in the Hawaiian Islands. And a lot of folks have been asking about that. And that's going to be rebuilt on the upper level here, totally separate, not connected to the bottom layer of the 0-30 layout, although you could connect them since 0-30 and HO scale have the same width between the rails. But we're not going to be doing that. We'll be putting a connector in between the 2 sections that are right here to allow, for the first time, a continuous run for the 0-30 layout, just to be able to come in here and have a train run around the layout. It'll be a drop down or a drop in connector piece, a bridge as you will, to connect the 2 sections so that I can have continuous run around the layout. Well, let's take a look and see just a quick little tour of what's been done so far. I don't know if you saw that short little video I posted about a week or so ago showing just a real quick around the room look, and we'll do that here and kind of do a little chit chat while we're cruising through the swamps here. So let's go do that right now. So here we are. This will be typically the beginning of a train's run across the layout. This area in here is going to be a small staging yard, and this is where the connector bridge across here to the other section is going to go to allow for continuous run. Again, this is just the bare 1x3 framework held together with some screws, and then there's the 2x4 supports, as you can see there, that I built and showed in the last video. There'll be a 2-inch piece of foam across here, and that'll mate up here with the old Blackwater engine terminal section. And this is survived pretty good. It's right here, and we'll have a track here, which used to be just a dead-end spur. That is going to end up being the main line that'll take us around over here into the staging yard, and I'm planning over here on this side to have a drop down section of track to allow trains to move through and then do a reverse move into some other tracks here. Also planning on putting into the layout my depot, the Blackwater depot that had been on the big basement size layout, but then there was no room for that. So I'm gonna make room to put the depot here, and then we can run some passenger service, some rail bus service out to the Mosquito camp. From the Blackwater area, Blackwater Junction, there will be a bridge. Let me get this lamp out of the way. That will go behind the computer, as you can see. That will connect that section of the layout with this section. And somebody had asked about that, so that's how that's happening. I'm just gonna run a section of HO scale flex track through the back there. It's not in place or anything yet, just sitting down there so I can get that mounted up. And here we go, the little worse for wear haunted mansion. It looks like they had another hurricane come through here. The trees are down, but we just haven't had a chance yet to get going too much with this. And this comes into Mosquito Camp. All the buildings, obviously, the cookhouse and the oil transfer dock and the doctor's office and all that are still off the layout right now. There's a converted boxcar deal going on there. People that are acutely aware of the West Side Lumber Company will see that is an old Russ Simpson boxcar kit. And over here is my scratch-built camp shower house. Someday I'll do a little story on how that one came together. And this hole in the layout is where the landing craft is going to go back in. And then, oh, here is going to be the new location of Camping World. If you're familiar with Camping World, you know you can always find them from about a 50-mile radius because they have a huge American flag flying outside. So yeah, Camping World right here. On to the next section. This is the lift bridge section, which I've had to do a little surgery on to make it fit. I didn't want to cut this up too much or not use it at all, because this was one of my favorite scenes as well on the layout. Of course, all the details, everything are all still boxed up. But, oh, and the other thing too, yeah, that's, the track crews were trying to meet up and we're off a little bit. We're gonna reposition this track over here to mate up here eventually, give them something to do. So this will come across here, and just as an example of where the track will go, this is all gonna be cypress swamp area in here. So this will be a low trestle coming across, and then it'll just be water and a whole bunch of cypress trees growing out of the water like you typically see in Louisiana. Moving into this section, this is kind of a transitional thing that's above my work table. This is where we're going to come into the cat loading area where the bulldozers, the dozers come in, offload their Lindsay wagons with logs onto flat cars, and they'll have a stiff leg derrick there, or A-frame boom to load them, and it's going to be muddier than all heck. And then we'll come through into here with a small yard where loads will sit out. There'll be a through track, and then empties will be staged on this other track. And then as well, we'll have a drop down extension which will fold down here to allow the locomotives to get around their trains and do some extra switching without taking up a whole bunch of space. The other thing I thought about, and I think this would be kind of cool, is a way to display some cars, cabin cars or a saw filer's car or something like that. Going to have, which is typical in the woods, a disconnected spur where they run the cars out onto the spur. They're going to be permanent until the camp moves or what have you. So they pull up the rails to the switch and just leave the cars on the tracks. So that's what's going to be going here. There's going to be backdrop in this area as well. And that's pretty much the layout. And like I said, there will be a switch that'll come off of here and go across and meet up over in the staging yard to allow for a continuous run through the layout all the way through and around. And I'm using a shim as a pointer into Blackwater Junction and into the yard here. So when you come into the layout room, all this here is going to be covered up with some nice paneling. So when you enter the room, you'll not see the back of the backdrop and all the wires and junk like that. It's going to be nicely finished off. Also have a bookshelf that's semi-permanently built in, and that'll hold magazines and books and that type of thing. I might even display a couple things on there. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see how that goes. So that's basically it. That's the layout room in a nutshell. So I hope you enjoyed that little tour. Things are coming along. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of behind the scenes, putting in some spacers around the upper level brackets so that the background will go in and be nice and smooth. I'm going to try to do rounded corners in the majority of the corners for the backdrop on the layout so that there's a smoother transition and not just the 90-degree angle there. So trying that. In the process of saving up a couple dollars for building materials, which are still very expensive. It's close to like $50 a sheet, 4x8 sheet for the extruded 2-inch insulating foam. And I'm gonna need a couple of those and some more 1/8-inch tempered masonite. That's what I use for the background, and get that painted up and get that installed. And then we'll go on to starting to lay some track again. I plan on laying track by hand. I'll use some, like I said, HO scale flex track in the area behind the computer where you're not really going to see it, and I've got some of that on hand already. I have a lot of rail and stain ties all set up, and a bunch of old switches that were salvaged off my basement size layout of the Mosquito Creek. I'm going to try to use those as well to save as much money at this rebuild as possible. So it'll be interesting. I'm keeping tabs on how much money I'm spending to rebuild this. Already I'm in it a couple $100, so it'll be another couple hundred before I even get around to laying some track. But it's a hobby. Nobody ever said hobbies were cheap. Oh well. Anyway, as long as it doesn't cut into my coffee budget, we'll be good. That's another story for another day. Anyway, take care, and God bless you, and we'll keep skeeting those skeeters. No, keep we skeeting those skeeters. Wait, hold on. Keep swatting those skeeters. Yeah, that's it.
That's what I told